WFMY Plus for an extended forecast on what we can expect as we go into this afternoon. Meteorologist Christian Morgan alongside with you. Glad to have you tuning in, hopefully to be able to answer all of your weather questions as we go into this afternoon. Now, I will tell you the whole deal here is that this is a quick hitting system this afternoon that we've been talking about. If you've been tracking along with us the last couple of days, you'll know that we are expecting a line of severe storms. That's why we're doing this extended weather coverage for you this morning. That line doesn't last very long, and it's in and out of here quickly. In fact, I think we have a pretty nice sunset this afternoon, or this evening I should say, shaping up, but this could be an hour or an hour and a half or so of really rough weather for you and your neighborhood. So we're going to break that down on what we can expect heading into the afternoon. So that News 2 weather impact alert, it starts at 2, it goes until 8. I will tell you, I may trim that back some because this thing is starting to really pick up speed. And for us, I think it's really out of the triad by 6 or 7 o'clock. So that's going to be good news. Your Friday evening, Friday night is going to be quiet. It's just a small window in the afternoon that we're going to have to watch. So right now, the alerts from 2 to 8. We'll let you know if that gets adjusted. Damaging wind is our main concern. We also have a concern for hail today. And as you remember, we've already had 2 hailstorms this spring season. Maybe another third as we go into this evening. So a good day to park your car under some shelter, maybe a carport, maybe a garage if you have the ability to do that. But it is one of those afternoons where you're going to want to pay attention to that. Bottom line, just have a way to get warnings, a way to get alerts in case they're issued. One good way to do that is the News 2 weather app. If you don't have it yet, I'd encourage you to download it. It is totally free. You get alerts pushed there. You get a forecast there. You also have interactive radar there. So if you're wondering what's happening in the weather, you're wondering where the storms are, you can see it right on your phone and you can track those just like we do here in the Weather Center. So that's a great tool to have no matter what kind of platform you have, Apple, Android, what it may be, the app will work for you. Here's what it looks like across the Piedmont now, 10 o'clock this morning. We had some fog early on, and it was a little bit of a damp morning of weather. We even had some more rain in the overnight period, but that was all gone before sunrise. It's taken a little while, but the clouds are finally starting to break apart. You can see that really nice and easy over downtown Greensboro on our sky camera there. Some blue skies showing up in High Point as well, and the sun is peeking out. If you've been outside this morning, you've been feeling it too. The humidity is back. So not only is it warm, it's humid with the muggy air back once again. These storms, though, this afternoon rolling through with a cold front, and that cold front's going to wipe out that humidity again. So it won't be as humid as we get into the upcoming weekend. And yes, drier weather is on the way back as well. So let's show you what we got on radar. Nothing to show you here across the really across the Piedmont at the moment. But I want to zoom out on a wide view, take you back over to Tennessee. And just 30 minutes ago on WFMY 9 a.m. we were showing you how quickly this line of storms was moving across Tennessee. It was around Knoxville over the last 30 minutes. So this thing is really trucking along pretty quickly. There was even an earlier tornado warning along that line out over Tennessee. And that may be a precursor to what we have to deal with for an hour or two as we go into this evening. But that line is on the way. That's the initial line that we're going to be tracking as it rolls through our area later this afternoon. Cold front, that's responsible for this. That front will slide by this evening after that quick hitting shot of storms, and we'll start to dry things out. Now, I can't totally rule out a stray shower or a storm Saturday, but I'm not expecting severe weather. And I do expect most of us will stay dry. That continues into your Sunday too, and on into Monday as well. There is one little extra caveat I'll add here. Yeah, like we need to add something else. But with our winds coming in out of the northwest tomorrow, low pressure taking off to the north and east, it's possible we get a little bit of Canadian wildfire smoke. So if you notice a little bit of haziness in the sky tomorrow, from the Canadian wildfires. I know, just another piece of the puzzle to our crazy week of weather that we've had. All right, let's take you through in time on Futurecast because I really want to show you how this plays out hour by hour as we go into the afternoon. Remember at the beginning, I said that most of our day is going to be quiet, is going to be dry, and is going to be warm. You can see that playing out. Here's 2 o'clock into this afternoon. We're partly cloudy, temperatures in the upper 70s to near 80, and it's sticky. Of course, that sticky warm air is going to be fuel to help pop those thunderstorms and intensify those thunderstorms for this afternoon. But main timing here, 1 to 2 o'clock, you're seeing it come across the mountains and approach the foothills. 2 to 3 o'clock moving into the western Piedmont and approaching our Triad area. I really think this line, if it forms, is going to be through the heart of the Triad between about 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock. So that's Friday evening commute time, but I think it's out of here before dinner time. All right, does that make sense? 3, 4, 5 o'clock, you're watching it push through our area, and then by 5 to 6, it's pushing to our east. And really by 6 o'clock, it could have already cleared Burlington, it could have already cleared Siler City, it could have already cleared Danville. So areas to the west may already be in the clear by then too. These things typically have a tendency to speed up, and I think we're watching that happen with our latest data as it comes in. Again, clearing things out, partly cloudy overnight. Temperatures will go back down into the mid and upper 50s as we start tomorrow. Severe weather risk for our area today. This is one update since early this morning. The Storm Prediction Center has upped our severe risk to a level 3 today for the Triad and areas to the south and east. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the storms are going to be worse. It just means that there's more confidence, higher confidence that there will be some strong or maybe severe storms in these areas, and mainly for damaging wind. That's going to be our main concern today. I'm going to step out of the screen here just a second so you can see what we have here. As far as our risks go, again, the wind concern is the highest. You'll see that on the right side of your screen, the pink shading there over parts of the Triad. So there's a pretty significant risk for high winds or damaging wind gusts today. There's a medium risk for hail. Again, we've already had 2 hailstorms this year. We really don't need a third one, but you know what to do. You know how to prep for that. And the tornado risk is there, but it is lower than the hail and damaging wind risk. So all things that we'll be watching as we go into the afternoon. That's why I say you want to have a way to get alerts, want to have a way to get warnings. Even if there's no tornado warning issued, we'll likely have some severe thunderstorm warnings issued as well. So always good to take cover, always good to heed those warnings, of course, when they are issued. Bottom line, though, here's your Friday. We're shaping up to overall a pretty good day of weather, except for that one chunk in the afternoon and the evening. Hoppers have a baseball game tonight. Pretty optimistic that the Hoppers are going to play baseball as we go into this evening. That first pitch is at 6:30, maybe a little bit delayed, but I think the game's going to be fine, especially as we move into the later part of the evening. All right, here we go. Overnight, partly cloudy. Things will start to clear out. We'll dip down into those mid-50s heading into your early Saturday morning. There's your weekend. Looks to be in pretty good shape. Outside of a stray shower or an isolated storm, I'm not even guaranteeing that. And if it pops up, that would mostly be north and east of the Triad. Otherwise, we have some sunshine back mixed in with a few extra clouds, 77 for your Saturday. And then Sunday, by and large, is a dry day of weather too. We could even have a couple of areas that dip down into the upper 40s by early Sunday morning. But most of us will wake up to the low 50s and then warm into the upper 70s for Sunday afternoon. From there on out, we go into next week. Well, finally some quieter weather. And summer starts to make a return too. We'll go back up to 80 on Monday and then start to climb back up into the mid 80s as we go in early next week. And I really do expect us to stay dry all the way through Tuesday and Wednesday, mostly Thursday staying dry too. And by that point, we could even approach the upper 80s. So after a wild week of ups and downs and cooler weather to start, summer is going to make a return, especially as we head into the first full week of June. So we just have to jump past today, and then our weather starts to get a little better. If you have plans for the weekend, you should be in good shape there. And then, of course, on into next week too. We need some time to dry things out, Megan.
Yeah, we do. We needed the rain though, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's funny, you know, somebody was asking me earlier in the hallway, are we still in a drought? No,
Right.
We're not in a drought,
Okay.
but we were, you know, March and April were
Sure.
really dry months. And then we've kind of made up for that here over the last few weeks. So my garden got watered several times this
Yeah.
week. My plants yours probably did too. So we do need an opportunity to dry things out. But our drought has been corrected. At least for now. You know, as we go into summer months, the rain becomes more hit or miss. So we always end up in some sort of drought situation, it seems like there. But for now, we're doing okay.
You mentioned weekend plans, a lot going on at the ballparks this
Yeah.
weekend. The Grasshoppers, for example, play Bowling Green at 6:30 tonight.
Oh, yeah.
You were thinking about adjusting the end time for this storm, but wanted to err on the side of caution. Do you think the game will go on as scheduled at 6:30, or could first bat get delayed?
Depends on how quickly the field can drain. You know, they do a really
Yeah.
good job here in downtown Greensboro with that. So with the storms exiting our area by 6-ish, I really honestly think they're gone by then.
Okay.
The game could start on time, if not maybe a little bit delayed, but I don't think very much. They do a good job, you know, covering the field. It has, you know, great drainage. So I think the game should mostly be on time. So if you're planning to go to that,
Yeah.
I think you should still probably plan on that. You know, if you get there and you have to wait 30 minutes, there's nothing wrong with that
Yeah.
either.
And once this is done, it's done, right? It's not going to stop and then
Right.
start up again 8, 9 o'clock tonight.
Right. This is not, you know, yesterday we had some storms across the area
Yeah.
and some big time rain, some really surprising
at our house.
flooding down south of our area. You know, you go down to the Baden Lake area, New London, down to Albemarle,
yeah.
Stanley County. Those folks had some flooded roads, which was kind of a surprise to me. But everything yesterday was scattered. You know, it would rain, it was stormed, and the sun would come out for a while, heat it
Yeah.
up, and then we'd do it all over again. Today's not really that case. We have that front moving through, and it's fast. So this is one quick shot as it
Okay.
moves through. So that's why I said earlier, you know, it may be storming at your house, but it may only storm at your house for like an hour.
Okay.
That hour though could be rough and could pack a punch. So that's where we pay attention. But it's only that small chunk of time in the afternoon.
We know the pools are already open across our area, so many people looking forward to going this weekend. So we'll really have to watch just tonight and then clear from here.
Yeah, I think we're in good shape. You know, I've kept a very low chance of a pop-up shower or storm in the forecast. Tomorrow, I think it's mostly north and east of the triad.
Okay.
So I really wouldn't hang my hat on getting super wet tomorrow. I think it's a good day to be outside. Sunday, same thing. And then we sort of lose any kind of rain worry going into next week.
I want to talk about hail for a minute.
Yeah.
We've already had 2 systems so far this spring that have brought significant hail. We talked with auto body shops this morning. Our Giselle Thomas was reporting if you joined us on our earlier newscast, and she said they're backed up for weeks now with cars needing to get in for hail repairs after insurance finally approves the claim. Tonight could bring another slew of folks needing repairs from damage. Why has it hailed, and what kind of weather factors influence the size of the hailstones that ultimately fall?
Good question. I'll start with this firsthand from experience. I'm still waiting on mine to be repaired. So that's how long it takes. You know, the storm that caused the damage on my truck was in March. That was the first one.
Wow.
So, you know, by the time I got an estimate, got insurance approved stuff, you know, it was April. And at that point, he's backed up till June and July. So it's going to take a while. As far as why we've seen so much hail, when you think about springtime, it's really a transitional period. You know, we're not really stuck into the stagnant heat and humidity. So in spring, there's still a lot of cool air. You know, we get a lot of cold fronts that come through. That's what we have today. And so up above our heads, we have cooler air.
Yeah.
And big differences in systems that move through cause big weather changes. So the big weather change that we have now coming is causing the storms to form. Up above our heads, though, it's still cold. Right. And so when you have a strong thunderstorm, we have updrafts and thunderstorms, and that's basically how fast the air is rising.
Right.
And so when those are strong and the air rises really fast, it can shoot all the way up to those really cool levels. And when you're shooting water up into freezing levels, it freezes.
Sure.
And then as it starts to fall, that strong air and that strong updraft of the storm pushes it back up. So it kind of keeps refreezing over and over and over again and getting those layers. So because it's so cold up above our heads still right now, that's why we've had such a hail risk. You know, you're coming out of winter and into summer, so there's still going to be some cold air around. Same kind of thing goes for fall. You know, you move from heat to cold. That's why spring and summer spring and fall are our big severe weather seasons. As far as the size of the hail, I mean, just how strong the updraft is, how long that stone can get suspended. If it keeps getting bounced back up and forth, it eventually gets too heavy and it falls down. But depending on how strong the storm is. If they're really tall, we're talking 30, 40,000 feet storms, you're going to have some nice size hail in that.
Yeah, the expert interviewed this morning, Chris Fulton, was talking about how hail he's noticed has gotten larger, at least in the recent storms, probably because of that air temperature, as you said. But I remember talking to him a few years ago when I was getting my own car repaired, and he said from a fixing standpoint, the larger stones are actually easier to pop out and less labor intensive than those really small ones where you could have hundreds, if not thousands, of dents on your car.
He went through mine and found stuff I didn't even see. I mean, easily see the ones on the hood, right over the roof, but the ones on the side that you don't catch are tiny little dings, smaller than my pinky nail. And those are the ones that he said are really tough to get out because you have to be so precise, and it's very tedious work.
Okay, so if we don't want to take the chance and be out on the roads or parked somewhere without covering in a hailstorm today, are we looking at that whole 2 to 8 time frame window, or could you pinpoint it a little narrower?
I'm going to say this, I can pinpoint it narrower, but depending on where you live, if you're in the western Piedmont and you're in the foothills, it's closer to that 2 p.m. timing. If you're east of Burlington and you're closer to Mebane, over toward the Raleigh area, you watch us on streaming or over the air that way, it's closer to the 7 and 8 time frame. For the heart of the triad, though, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, High Point, Burlington, Asheboro, Reidsville, all Lexington, Denton, Montgomery County down to Troy and Biscoe, that's really 3 to 5 is really our window there. So
that's good to know.
Yeah, so if you have evening plans, I think really once we get past 6 o'clock, you're going to be fine. Like I said, I think the ball game's going to be fine. It's just that small chunk of time we got to watch this afternoon.
If you have the chance to take your work remotely and finish out the day at home, maybe today is the day to do it.
Yeah, beat the evening commute home because this is rolling through right in the heart of that. A lot of people leave work early on Friday anyway, 4:30. That's when it's likely going to be pushing through. So plan accordingly for that if you can. can.
Yeah, you don't want to be driving through a hailstorm down the interstate.
You got that right.
Hey, we appreciate you joining us for our streaming here on WFMY Plus. We have weather coverage throughout the day today continuing.
Yeah. We'll be on top of it for you. We'll have another one of these extended forecasts following our noon show. So 12:30, we'll be back on WFMI Plus with an update. And of course, if storms warrant it, we'll be on more than that. Just have a way to get warnings today. Make sure your alerts are turned on your cell phone. Again, the News 2 app is a great way to do that. Just make sure that you're in the know so you know what's headed your way.
All right. Thanks again for joining us on WFMY Plus. We'll see you for our next weather update and then again on television on air for WFMY News 2 at noon.
See you later.